Hello and welcome to another Wednesday episode. So we are continuing our series, our Stephen Covey series, his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and looking at through the lens of forest school, bushcraft and general outdoor life. So we've already looked at habits 1 and 2, which is still be proactive. It's all about taking personal ownership, things you can control, and being, proactive and going out and doing things. Then habit number two was begin with the end in mind. And that was really about getting those mission statements, that high level vision, and then using that to inform decision making. So habit number 3 is put first things first. And this is kind of cascading downwards. So with the second habit, we were dealing very much with the big picture. Habit number 3 is the last of the personal habits, the last of the ones that are intrinsic, that govern how we interact with ourselves. And so it's really starting to deal with putting things in practice on a day-to-day basis. And the way it's primarily talked about is in organisation of priorities. So priorities can first of all be broken down into ones associated to certain roles. As you well know, working outside and forest school leader, bushcraft instructor, so on, you are required to take a lot of different roles. And you may well be a marketer, you may well be a leader, you may well be an accountant, within all that. So we can either say, okay, one of our roles is running this business, or we can split it down further. Doesn't matter. We're just going through life and identifying the roles. We may well have a role as a family member, as a son, as a brother, or a sister, or daughter. We may well have a role as a parent, as a carer. There's all those other roles. And then you may well have a role as a wife or a husband or a partner. There's many different roles that you are required to take in life. And the idea is that you would then break down everything you're doing into those roles. So once you've identified your roles, you can then start organising the tasks and responsibilities of those roles. Now, this is typically described, the tasks and responsibilities that you have can typically be divided into 4 different areas. If you think of it as a quadrant, so we have 4 sections divided into 4 sections, so cross straight down the middle. Now, this is going to take some visualization if you're on the audio, so essentially we have quadrant 1, which is going to be top left, and that is urgent and important. So those are the things that demand your attention, the things that absolutely have to be done. For example, if your child cuts themselves while chopping vegetables or whatever, that is the very definition of a priority 1. It is both urgent, needs to be addressed right there and then, and it is important. And we deal with a lot of these. They are all the crises in the businesses. They're like, okay, this bill needs to be paid. This parent has called up and their concerns need to be addressed. So-and-so isn't going to make it to the session. This is something we need to work around and deal with now. So those priority 1s, these are the ones that are very much demanding. They are out there. We don't usually have to go looking for these. They will turn up. Then moving along to our top right. This is, so full top section are things that are important. So we have top left, important and urgent. Top right, important but not urgent. Now this is the really important sector. This is where, we'll come into this a bit So you should be spending most of your time. So these are the things that you know will move the needle forward. They may not be things that you immediately can take action, immediately spur you on to action. They're not urgent. They're not, okay, if I don't do this within the next week, my business will fail. But you know, over the course of months or years, if you fail to do these, you will either not reach your targets or things will fail, things will fall apart. This is where things are, they're important, but they don't necessarily have the urgency of crises. So then we move down the quadrant and we end up with priority 3, which is the bottom left. Now, if you've been keeping track of this mental picture, see that those days where we have not urgent, or we have urgent but not important. So this is where you find things that don't necessarily link up with your aims and ideals. They are just out there and they have a sense of urgency to them, but they don't necessarily have that importance. So these are ones that it's good to get done, but it's not quite as valuable. And then the last quadrant will be the quadrant 4, which is your things that are neither important nor urgent. Now this is the black hole of procrastination. This is where, if you're tired, if you're burnt out, this is where the mind goes. This is where you find yourself binge watching YouTube shorts or TikTok videos or scrolling on Facebook. Things that don't need to be done now, and they're not going to move your life forward. They're not going to move the business forward. They're not going to make a difference. So priority 4 really is the quadrant 4 is the one you are looking to avoid. Quadrant 3, these are the things that probably should get done eventually. Quadrant 2 is where the most of your focus should be, and quadrant 1 will be there regardless. But the thing is, the way the system works is the more time and effort we put into our quadrant 2, the less likely we are to have things appear in quadrant 1. It's a stitch in time prevents 9. It's all about setting up policies, procedures, thinking ahead, building systems that will mean that you can avoid the crises. Quadrant 2 is all about looking at the future and doing the things now. It's going through your ropes box and having a look and checking it regularly to make sure all of the ropes are in good working order, so that when you end up on a session, first of all, you're not having to do that on the day. Secondly, it's going to prevent that crisis, that accident that's going to cause a massive amount of problems. Stuff like that. Quadrant 2 is the things that move the needle forward. And you really have to be really serious and honest with yourself when you are deciding which quadrant the particular task you have fits into. Because it may seem really important, may seem really urgent, but if it's not that important, if it's not going to move the needle forward, then it's best left to one side until if you have some spare time, go ahead with it. But really, it's about avoiding, first of all, being in firefighting mode of quadrant 1 all the time, which is where you're only dealing with things when they drop onto your desk, when you get that phone call. It's moving away from fighting fires to quadrant 2, which is preventing them. It's staying away from quadrant 4, which doesn't help us at all. And it's again moving upwards to things going, is this really going to change where I am now? Is it really going to help us move forward? So you'll probably see how this applies to life. Now, the way I use this system is I have a to-do list app, and I will have all of my roles listed there, like family member, partner, any particular big projects I'm working on. And then whenever I add a project, whenever I add an outcome or something that I have to do, a task, I will go through and I will, in that app, give it a priority. Priority 1 means it has to get done, it's important and urgent. Priority 2 relates to quadrant 2, and so on. And if anything is quadrant 4, I just get rid of it straight away. If it's not important enough to, at the very least, be a quadrant 3, then it's not worth my while. And the stuff on quadrant 3, that may well be the stuff that you delegate out. You go, okay, it's urgent, but it's not important, so maybe I can get it done elsewhere, or just avoid doing it at all. And it's all refocusing. Most of my things that I do on a daily basis is like 20% priority 1, 80%, 70 to 80% quadrant 2, and then a couple of quadrant or priority 3s. And this means that I'm always asking that question, okay, what will actually help me move towards this project completion? What will actually move the business forward this way? So it's really being concrete about it. And the whole goal of this system, this quadrant system, is to be motivated by values and things that move forward. It's a principle-based approach. Now, what Stephen Covey is very adamant on, pushes forward strongly, is avoiding your schedules ruling your life. So we can schedule everything down to the minute, but as soon as something changes, everything goes out the window. And if you're anything like me, you've got that slightly autistic view, then you're disrupted massively when things don't work out in the schedule you need to. So that's where we're looking to keep that flexibility in our schedules, to go, okay, this is what we'd like to do, but what are my goals here? Coming back to habit number 2, what am I trying to achieve? As long as we keep coming back to that, as long as we keep asking the questions, is this important? We'll start making the right decisions. So there we go. That is habit number 3. Put first things first. Hope this has proven helpful. I hope you're enjoying this series so far. We've got 4 more to go. And by this point, I may well be close to away on holiday. Not. But anyway, thank you so much for watching or listening. Remember to make the most of every day, and I'll see you next time.